What's up, folks? How's it going tonight? Just had a few minutes, and we had a topic that kind of came up a few times last night, so figured I'd hop on and see if anybody wanted to chat about it, ideally, where you can listen to me ramble. The choice is yours. If you're willing to chat and voice your opinion a little bit, the link is over in the chat. That should be pinned, and we can get you in the stream, and we'll see what's crack-a-lackin'. So give people a few minutes, see if they decide to show up or not. Let's switch this over to here. We'll do that like that. And we'll see who pops in. And if nobody pops in and we don't get a whole lot of interest, then I am going to go work on the tanks. Because I'm still behind. I'll always be behind. There's not that much to do. But it's summertime, so there's other priorities, of course. So holler if you're here. I see a couple people watching. What's up, Patty? Hope you're doing well tonight. I know it's been a while since I've seen y'all, of about 22 hours. So thanks for stopping in. We'll see if people start to pop in or not. I didn't really see any other streams going. You know, Tuesday nights used to be kind of busy off and on for a little bit there. But I'm not sure anymore. I honestly don't know. Few pops in. My audio is kind of low. I can turn it up if you'd like. See if I can ramp this up a little bit somewhere. It's better, maybe. Let me know. Right now it's just you and I, so not a whole lot going on. Let me know what you think of that. I'd imagine that better is much worse. I don't even know if you'd be honest or just screwing around with me. So we'll see if anybody else pops in. What's up, Jeffrey Watts? How you doing tonight, man? Hope you're having a good night. What's going on? It's quiet. Where's everybody at? Is there a stream that I missed somewhere that everybody's hiding in? Patty, I've got my audio on and I can hear it just fine, or at least fine enough for me. So we'll see if anybody else is having problems here. But it sounds all right to me on my side. No, yeah, misplaced jokes are more than welcome, Jeffrey. They're always welcome. It might be short tonight. If nobody else shows up, we'll bail out, unless you guys just want to sit and have a little conversation back and forth, which we can do. But that might be a little bit one-sided. Not the end of the world, though. So we'll see. I planned on talking about last night. A couple of us talked quite a bit about, buying fish and stuff online. So I thought maybe we'd get into that a little bit more tonight. But if there's only the three of us, then we'll abort and let you guys get out of here so you don't have to listen to me ramble. To just the two of you. Tuesday night at 11 Eastern. Everybody must be sleeping. It's awfully quiet in the world of YouTube. That's the problem, Jeff. They creep in. So there's only so much to talk about at any given time. So I don't want to talk about everything that's on my mind all at once when there's only a few of us here. Not that you guys aren't worth it. Don't get me wrong. You guys are more than worth talking to. But I figure there's probably more people out there that would enjoy or at least want to contribute to the conversation. So we'll see if people stop in. Otherwise, it's going to be very casual and likely very short. But anyway, so I've been working on the fish room. I've got some empty tanks, so I've been looking at picking up new fish myself. I've been looking at some Shelleys. I just don't know how much I want to spend because you can get really expensive with some of the uncommon shell dwellers. And right now, I honestly don't feel like spending that much money on some fish. There's some super cool ones out there. Just maybe not the right time for it. Staten Island signals. Yep. I haven't ordered from Staten Island just yet, but I'm definitely interested in picking up some fish from him. Because I'd like to get some of these ophthalmo tilapias. It's like a gold or an orange featherfin. I have a 180 downstairs that's just sitting empty right now, and I'd like to pick those up for it. But they're kind of hard to find, particularly for a reasonable price. What's up, Jimmy P? Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for the message earlier. Appreciate it. I hollered back at you. Let's see if I can convince anybody else to come chat. Probably not. People seem like they're busy. That's okay. People have lives outside of the world of YouTube. Black chin, Xenon tilapia. I've probably seen it. It doesn't come to mind, but we can look it up. That's what we're here for. This guy, Jeffrey, I'm assuming. Black chin. I'm not super familiar with it. Oops. Oh, gosh. I keep forgetting that you guys are on a different screen over here. Let's do this. Do this. Now I can keep track of you guys a little bit better. That guy's pretty cool. I wonder if we can find something for sale somewhere. I would guess it's probably going to be pretty tough to find them. So, I'm guessing not here, but look. Looks like cichlidlovers.com has them, which is based out of Tucson. Just a small shop a guy runs out of his house, but he gets some pretty cool stuff. Let's see what he wants for them. Pretty neat little fish. Looks like the males show some pretty good colors. Sold out right now, but 18 bucks at 2 inches. Maybe we can see if somewhere else has them right now. I'm guessing that Staten Island probably doesn't. He's got a few species for you. Not sure which ones are which, but looks like probably expects to pay about 20 each, depending on the flavor. That's not good. That's not working. I thought maybe if you clicked it, you might have photos, but it does not appear that way. I'm sure he's got pictures somewhere. Let's see what we can find. Maybe. Oh, doesn't look like he has photos right now. Sometimes you can steal some really awesome fish that way. A lot of times on Aquabed, somebody won't post photos, but if you're aware of what the fish is, some people scroll by it because they didn't have a photo. And then you can score a really good deal on it because it didn't garner much interest due to the lack of pictures. What's up, Lefty? I see you. How you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by. Chat for a little bit. You're welcome to pop up on the stream. Just kind of rambling right now about buying and selling some fish, whether that's online or through other venues. Nothing too crazy. We were talking about pictures because I noticed on Staten Island he didn't have any pictures of the fish. He had an availability list over here. He's got a price list, but if you click on these, it doesn't actually show you any pictures of the fish, which if you know what you're getting into and you're familiar with the fish, then that's not a problem. However, just posting some quality photos, particularly of things like guppies, because different strains of guppies, even though they share the same name, may look drastically different. Some just really poor quality. So a picture could make or break a sale really fast. So if you're trying to sell fish, shrimp, plants, corals, whatever, take the time to get some decent pictures. I don't focus a lot on selling stuff online, so I don't take as much time getting pictures of fish as I should and plants and whatnot. But when I'm personally looking at ads, I always go straight to the pictures to get an idea of whether or not it's a fairly decent quality specimen. So, but a lot of the times I'll go to looking on Aquabed here, and I'll just go through, look at things that ends in the next 24 hours. The ads on Aquabed are terrible. So like, actually, unless you know that there's a picture, so those are kind of the ads that go to first. And then a lot of the times I'll go in and find specific species. And sometimes they don't include a picture, which is bad for them. It can work out for you if you're very familiar with the fish. You have a pretty good idea of what it looks like, and you know that that's something that you want. You can often score a good deal on it just because they don't have any photos to see. Dwarf Sumbu Shelley's. Mario out of, I think he's in Illinois, recently had some Dwarf Sumbu Shelley's on Aquabed. And I bid on them for a while. And then this was maybe a month ago. I just didn't have the time to actually ship them in and take care of them. So I let them go to somebody else that wanted to spend a little bit more money than I did at the time. Great fish. I've had several other fish from them. Like I said, it just wasn't the right time. So one of these days I'll catch up and grab some. Super cool little fish. Those of you that aren't particularly familiar with what Jeffrey's talking about, the Dwarf Sumbu Shelley is just kind of, I don't know, it's something that many people are aware of, but it's kind of hard to find and keep track of. So it's actually a compressiceps that lives in shells. So this little guy here, pretty cool little fish, super awesome. They said they live in shells. They stay super small. Cost wise, it's probably going to run you $20 to $25 a fish, and they're pretty tough to find. So I would say worth it, depending on your interest level in them, of course. But sometimes might just not be in the budget, or in many people's cases, just don't have the space for it. Super cool fish, though. That's one of, I don't know, not really necessarily a bucket list fish, but it's definitely a fish that I'd like to keep and breed one of these days. I've heard they're fairly, a little more difficult to breed of a Shelly, but not impossible. What's it, Ian? How you doing tonight, man? Welcome to the stream. I haven't chatted with you in a while. Nice to see some familiar faces poking around. Let's see if I can fix this quick. How are your tanks doing, Ian? I've caught bits and pieces of your streams and occasional video here and there, but I just haven't had the time to really pay a ton of attention to everybody that's in the old fish fam on the fish tube. So it looks like Mike over at Imperial Tropicals occasionally gets the Sumbu in. $20. That's about what I expected. They'll probably come in. I'd guess you'll probably get them at probably 1.5 or 2 inches. So as they max out at 3 inches, I think that's a little bit on the larger side, to my knowledge. They do look like little pug rockers. No kidding. This looks like a male and a female. If I had to guess, I'm not an expert on compressor sips, but the male is likely this darker one with the more angular jawline, and the female is the smaller, more lightly colored one. What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for stopping in, saying hi, see what's up. And we're just said for those of you that just joined a couple minutes ago, we're slowly building a little audience here, just talking about kind of buying and selling fish online, just tips, tricks, things to look out for. Last night we were chatting. I know a couple of you were in there. We were chatting, and the topic came up a few times. So figured we'd see what questions people had, or topics people wanted to discuss about potentially buying or selling fish, not necessarily online. There's some cool tips and tricks about going to swap meets too, particularly going to swap meets. It's stressful in the fish, right? So we bag them up often the night before, or even a couple nights before, depending on how far you're traveling or how much work you want to have to do the day of, or the night before a swap meet. It's been bagged up for a little while. They're stressed. They're in a different environment, and so they don't usually display their colors, particularly like if you're dealing with rainbow fish or some of the Rift Lake Africans. Just being bagged up, or sometimes it's just a small size, they don't display their colors very well. It's one of the interesting things that I've seen people do is, other than just print a picture, put it on every bag, which can be a pain in the butt. They'll actually, one guy had he made magnets and put a picture on the magnet, and then he could put the magnet on the table that he used, so that people could see what the fish would look like as an adult or in its breeding colors. If you've ever tried to sell rainbows or young, like a young peacock or something, they don't have a whole lot of color, just a gray, or if you're lucky, a silver or shiny fish. So they're a tough sell to people that aren't familiar with them. So a lot of times if you include pictures of the adults, whether that's a picture on a table, or if you have, maybe you carry a screen around with you so you can scroll through the pictures of the fish you have for sale. I include pictures of the adults so that people that aren't familiar with the fish get an idea of what they'll actually look like. Because as a lot of you know, you may get to some of the juveniles that are totally gray, but then they color up as they mature and start getting the breeding colors. So quick tip on that: pictures. A lot of buying and selling fish is all in the presentation, right? And we talked about this last night, going through if you're going to create an online listing, whether that's through something like Band, which I thought I had open a minute ago. I don't think I have it open anymore. Go through something like Band or Get Gills or Aquabids. Take the time, type up a nice listing, be descriptive about it, Let's see if we can find somebody worth a damn on here. So like here's if you're familiar with him, Marcel from Wisconsin's big catfish and rainbow guy. He's got some pretty good pictures of the fish. Now that's all right. He's selling juveniles, so this may be a picture of the adult. Probably not one of the juveniles. That gives you a good idea of what the fish will look like when it gets older. He tells you exactly how many you're getting, what size or age they'll be, and then this is an excellent idea that I use a lot too when I'm selling fish or plants. Is I'll include a link to take you to somewhere like Seriously Fish or Plant Catfish that gives you solid description of that fish. So you know exactly what you're getting. And then he goes on to describe his 8 soft dorsal rays. If you recently watched one of Tom's videos from TM Aquatics, he talks about the 181 versus the 183. I'm going to count the soft dorsal rays. So it's these rays on their dorsal fin right there. So that's how you distinguish many species of fish from each other. He talks about some of his water parameters. So 6 to 8, so pretty decent range. pH, 75 to 85, solid temperature range. And then he gives you some information about his PayPal. He uses payment information. So he uses PayPal. That's, PayPal's been around forever. Pretty generally accepted form of payment these days, particularly in the fish world. He gives you kind of an estimate on shipping and DOA policy. So Marcel's been doing this a while. He's got great fish. He's super good at what he does. So that's a pretty good, if like an Aquabid ad, or if this was on like Get Gills speed, a pretty decent little ad to consider, right? He shows some professionalism, shows some knowledge about the fish, what he's selling. And then he talks about kind of how he plans to ship it. And a lot of the times, they'll offer you a couple shipping options. It's up to you to decide how much you want to spend and what risk you want to take. Just they found a guy in Texas that sells nothing but tangs. That's awesome. Galveston. I don't think I know anybody in Galveston. I know you're down that direction, though. So that's pretty awesome. Usually when you find somebody that specializes in a certain type of fish, or in this case, a specific lake, they'll usually have some uncommon stuff or some pretty rare stuff even. And they usually are pretty good at what they do. They specialize in a certain type of fish or fish from a certain area. So they're extremely knowledgeable. They've taken a particular interest in those fish, plants, etc. So whether you're looking to purchase something from them or just gain some knowledge from them, if you find somebody that specializes in a certain thing, it's probably a pretty good friend to make. Now, obviously, you can specialize in something and not know a whole lot about it too. So be wary. Use your common sense. Usually not too bad. So like Aquabid, ending soon. It usually, I'll usually scroll down like the last 3 hours. Depends. Like if I'm about to go to bed, I'll look at the next 12 hours. Get an idea. This shows you all the auctions ending soon, right? So Aquabid's over the years it's had its ups and downs. And there's a lot of just straight up shops on here. But sometimes you can snipe some good deals at the end of an auction just because maybe only one person was interested in it. And that's kind of, the ebb and flow of something like Aquabid where it's auction based, right? So if you have a very specific fish, maybe you're talking like those black chin Xeno tilapias, right? Those target a fairly small audience. So even though their actual monetary value is fairly high because there's not a whole lot of them available and they're fairly sought after by those people that know about them and are interested in them. If you only get one person interested in an auction at a time, there's nothing to push the price up other than what you set it at. And usually, like myself, if you set a reserve price or starting price fairly high, like right at what you want, I probably won't take a whole lot of interest in that because as a buyer, you're likely to end up overpaying. So little T-Bell get you some deluxe box action there with the chalupa nachos and stuff. Glad to have you, Danny. Gonna swing up and chat. Ian, Jeffrey, Vin, any of you guys, you're all welcome to hang on the chat. Just kind of talk about buying and selling fish. Right now we're on an aquabid kick because it's easy to talk about, and a lot of people aren't familiar with it. So see if I can help kind of show you around. Like I was saying, if you only get one person that's interested in a certain fish, then the odds of them scoring a great deal are pretty good. If you get a couple people, I've seen, sometimes fish go well over their fair value. It just depends on, there's two people that really want that fish. So, just the auction game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, both as the buyer and the seller. And that's how it goes. Alice Shane, how's it going? Good evening. Thanks for stopping by. Aquabid used to be more popular. It was kind of, I don't know, it seems like it was popular before all the online vendors, like breeders, started making their own websites and stuff and opening these online shops, I guess. I still like Aquabid. I like the auction format. It can make things a lot of fun. I'm not really into breeding fish to make a living, so Aquabid is fun for me to throw some fish out there, and if somebody gets a great deal on them, great. If I make a buck, I make a buck. Not the end of the world. Like I said, you can a lot of breeders on there because they don't have the livestock or time to dedicate to a specific website, so they just list a couple pairs or a small group here and there as they breed them. But that is sometimes Aquabid can be a pain in the butt. Right now, it seems like for a while they had some issues with servers, I think. It seems like they got that sorted out. Ads aren't too bad. It's completely free to use, which is one of the benefits. If you're selling on there, there's a lot of features that you can use as a seller. It's not the easiest platform to use to post listings, but it works just fine. But as a seller, if you have a problem with a certain bidder, somebody that's a problematic buyer, you can just ban them, so you don't even have to deal with them. Feedback system's pretty good. And then, like I said, if you're selling on Aquabid, the website's free to use. There's no charge. You sort the auctions out on your own afterwards, right? So after the auction ends, it's just between you and the buyer. So they're not, Aquabid is not going to get involved in your sale at all. So it's strictly up to you to make things right, regardless of which direction the sale goes. And you don't, I don't know. Usually Aquabid is mostly fairly serious people that you don't get a lot of people that are bidding and not paying at the end of it just because the price went up too high. And then there's a feedback system for that. And, it's a fairly small, fish keeping in general is a fairly small community. And then you narrow it down into different groups and stuff, whether it's a Facebook group or a group of people that use Aquabid. So names get around pretty quickly. And good sellers and bad sellers are usually pretty easy to determine one from the other. I think I have a few caves by Rosenthal. It is a pretty good place to get dry goods. I get my shipping supplies from a guy on here. Let's see. Have to find it. MVP. So if you don't need a whole case, I mean, if you do, I'll sell it to you. But if you don't need a whole case of a certain size bag, MVP is super reasonable on all his prices, and it's pretty quality stuff. So you have heat packs through MVP. It's usually, if I use more than 10 heat packs a season, then that's pretty crazy for me. So usually I just get a few at a time from him as I need them. Bags, got wide variety of bags. So dry goods, I think MVP probably has the shipping supply about cornered on Aquabid. 2 nights in a row. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Trying to make up for lost time. No, I just had some time, and we got into a discussion about buying and selling fish a little bit last night. So I figured I'd carry on that a little bit tonight, probably just for an hour or so. Nothing too crazy, unless somebody decides they want to come up and chat, which, as I said, you are all more than welcome to. One of the things, so a lot of times, like people that run Get stores on Get Gills, they may have other places that they sell online, right? It's like even if you look at Dan's Fish, he sells on Aquabid. I can go into some of the rainbows, and I bet you Dan has some rainbows listed because he has some pretty cool ones. So Roseline 1.7, that's Marcel. Again, here's Dan's Fish. For those you get use some. So the red neon blue eye, that's a Sudamugil Pass guy. Look at this. Other than the ads, it's going to give you an excellent description, some shipping options, and he probably, if I click this, probably takes me to his website. Boom, look at that. And that's one of the wonders of Aquabid is you can use it. I don't know, you can use it just to sell there if you'd like. You can use it strictly as advertisements to lead people over your website. I know some people they'll put one price on Aquabid that's crazy high just to get you to click the ad, just so you go click on their website and start browsing their stuff. I know a lot of you guys in the fish fam are familiar with Jadrin Aquatics, and I actually saw him listed on here the other day. Let me see if his ad is still on here. It might have ended last night. I'm not saying it must have ended, but Jadrin's got a website too. So one of the benefits of selling online, especially when you're using a free platform like Aquabid or a very extremely cheap platform like Get Gills, so you can list in both places fairly easily, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually, maybe not anytime soon, that there's an app to list your fish in multiple places. For those of you that use like Poshmark or Mercari to sell items online. I know my wife does a lot of that stuff. She actually uses an app service that she uses the app to list it, and then that app actually has a program to go out and list it in whichever locations she chooses. So I'm not familiar with Amazon Lucy. I've one of those things I've probably seen it over the years, but just don't recognize the name. Like I said, Jadrin lists on Aquabid. You go to his website. His website's fairly well laid out. I just found it the other day. I haven't ordered anything from it myself, but he's got everything broken down. Like I said, shipping DOA policy, that's a huge one that people want to know. If you're creating a website or if you're listing somewhere else, before you start selling fish, come up with how you're going to handle shipping and how you're going to handle a DOA situation or a situation where the fish may not arrive in great shape. Because it'll happen. Even people that ship the best, if you look at somebody like, Dan's been at it for a while. He's pretty good at what he does. But even Dan has an occasional issue here or there, whether it's a carrier issue or just sometimes, fish when they arrive just have a hard time adapting to your tank's water parameters. So figure out how you're going to deal with that before listing the fish. Make sure you have all your shipping supplies on hand. Every now and then I'll catch myself posting something for sale or up for trade, and I'll end up getting ready to pack it up and ship it, only to find out that, hey, out of the right size or a reasonable size bag, or hey, I don't have any insulation. And then that just means more of your time running around to get the proper materials, or sometimes the person on the receiving end of whatever you're shipping out has to wait a week. Maybe you need to order heat packs because you can't source any locally and you're out. So be ready to go. It's just gonna add to your credibility, right, and build your reputation. If you are prepared, ready to go, if you're selling stuff online, it makes it a hell of a lot smoother process. But if any of you guys ordered from Jason over at Jadrin Aquatics, I know he sells a bunch of stuff. I always see him talking on YouTube trying to sell stuff. I know the past year or so he's gotten into a bunch of guppies. He's actually got, based on photos, some pretty cool guppy strains. And $25 for a pair. Looks like he sells all of his guppies in probably pairs, maybe a pack of juvies, maybe. Yeah, it looks like it's all just pairs. I personally prefer when I'm buying fish, particularly guppies. I try to lean a little female heavy, specifically with guppies, but with all the fish. So if you have intentions of breeding, I would suggest talking to the seller and see if you can go a little female heavy. A guppy, like when I sell my guppies or antlers, I usually sell one male with 2 females, right? Increases the buyer's chances a little bit, particularly with live birds, because the females can store the sperm for several batches of fry. So even if they lose that male, if they have a couple females, they'll eventually get a colony going. It may take a little bit longer, but it'll work out. So there's good sellers and bad sellers, right? So we talked about some of the good guys, whether it's Marcel or Jason from Jadron seems to have a pretty quality reputation. Obviously Dan from Dan's Fish. And then there's shops like this. And I'm sure you guys have heard or seen a story at some point in time on the internet about Arizona Aquatic Gardens. And these guys have been selling fish and stuff online for quite some time. And I don't know how. I legitimately don't know how they are still around, because they have got to have the worst reputation on the face of the planet when it comes to selling aquaria related things. Just straight up shipping the wrong things, never shipping stuff and it's just dead when you get it. So there's good sellers and bad sellers. And Arizona Aquatic Gardens is proof that you can be an absolute terrible seller and somehow still make it for quite some time if you keep grinding. I wonder. I wonder if I look up. I know the Better Business Bureau has been just hollered at nonstop. Even on, let's look at their Yelp. Where'd that question go? Anyway? The premier tropical aquatic farm. Yep. How about no? Hard pass. What's the likelihood of my fish being replaced? Calls and emails. That's kind of the name of the game with Arizona Gardens. You can call and email them as much as you want. You're not going to hear back. Absolutely zero chance. Pretty terrible. Look at this guppies, just ripped to crap. Terrible shape. And that's not something that obviously fish can get, stressed or damaged during shipping. That's not from shipping. That's just the selling crappy livestock. It's 1 star. Fish from them a few weeks ago. It took weeks to ship it. And then the bags were leaking. This person described as a scam artist. Yeah. So like I said, if you ever avoid a single actual online shop, Arizona Aquatic Gardens is going to be the place to stay far away from. And that's pretty apparent just by Googling. Usually you can get an idea if you Google some of these places. So stick to the big names, right? Stick to names that are known in the hobby. Obviously, like I said, Arizona Aquatic Gardens has been around forever, but they're garbage. You have people like Rob and the crew over at Flip Aquatics. Super awesome guys. They're taking good care of their things before they ship them out to you. Quality shipping, they stand behind their product. Customer service is top notch. They sell a variety of stuff, and they actually just got into, or recently, are expanding into plants as well. So they do shrimp, they do nanofish, they're doing a lot of plants now. And they actually acquired, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they acquired H2Oplants.com, which used to be run by a guy named Justin. super good guy. I just got busy with some other stuff. But yeah, they sell all kinds of plants. So I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe H2Oplants.com is either owned by Flip Aquatics or they're close partners. I noticed the other day on YouTube's Rob actually did a video with the new guys from H2Oplants.com. If I can find that real quick. Somewhere near. Of course, now I'm not going to be able to find it. There you go. That's the majority of where I get my fish from is friends, and I'll acquire something. They'll acquire something. We end up just trading stuff between fish rooms. And I've seen fish in my friend groups over the course of 15, 20 years. It's funny how it changes hands from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. Locals or even through shipping, just friends that live far apart. And eventually, at the end of the day, the original owner comes back and is like, "Oh, hey, I want those fish back again." So obviously, it's several generations down usually, but it'll happen. So Alshan mentioned SI6. We were talking about Staten Island earlier. One of these million pages I've got open. See if I can shut some of these down here. Make it a mess. Boom. And we were talking about Staten Island, and one of the things that I wish they did, we talked about this, is post some more pictures on their website. Ideally, pictures of the actual livestock that's available, kind of like it's pretty popular in the coral side. You'll see WYSIWYG auctions or posts. Just what you see is what you get. Yeah, it's pretty easy with corals. You take a picture of it; it doesn't move. It's easy to ship that same one. But it'd be nice if if you were selling guppies, you isolated a trio of guppies, you took a picture, and somebody was buying that specific trio of guppies just so they know exactly what they're getting. Staten Island cichlids. I wish they just post some pictures. That's it. I mean, I obviously I can copy the name and go Google it easy enough, but I'd like to see pictures of their fish. It's like, as you guys know, a certain specimen of a super awesome fish just may not look that great based on health or poor breeding or whatnot. And poor breeding is definitely a concern when you're buying online, right? So if particularly you get into like the guppies, some of the cichlids, you start if you're not, as a breeder, if you're not culling fish with undesirable characteristics, with illnesses, deformities, poor color patterns, poor finnage, you're hurting you're hurting yourself, right? Because you want to build a name for yourself as a breeder that you offer quality fish and top-notch stuff, right? But by introducing, if you're not breeding out those fish with deformities, you're introducing more fish that are more susceptible to illness and just generally poor livestock into the hobby. And that goes to the buyer as well, right? As a buyer, we don't want to be purchasing bad livestock. You want to give yourself the best chance at being successful with those fish. So don't intentionally buy sick fish and introduce into your tanks. Whilst this is kind of my 2 cents, my opinion on how things play out in the hobby. A lot of people see a sick fish or a fish that might be deformed, like, oh, I'm rescuing it. Well, you're encouraging, whoever's selling that fish to keep selling fish and not keep better livestock or take better care of their livestock. But you're also, even if it's a deformity, sure, it could be a birth defect, but it's also a sign that fish is likely much weaker and more susceptible to infection, which may induce more infections and problems into the rest of your tanks, right? So don't intentionally buy unhealthy livestock. A lot of people are of the mindset that they're rescuing a fish, or if it's sick or if it's obviously in an extremely stressed state, leave it there, okay? Unless it's your unicorn fish and you can't find any more of those and you've been looking forever, then you want to take the chance at rehabbing it, place it in quarantine, treat it properly to clean it up. Then I could understand that, but it's a terrible idea to intentionally buy sick or deformed fish. And as a breeder, obviously, or as a seller, don't sell fish like that. You don't want that on your reputation. You want to contribute to the betterment of the hobby, right? You don't want to drag things down. And you can see that particularly in guppies right now, actually in shrimp too. But guppies, guppies used to always be thought of as bulletproof fish that anybody could keep, and they were easy to breed. And they're still easy to breed. But due to inbreeding and poor breeding programs and farming, they're just super, it's almost hard to find quality guppies anymore. Just a quality strain that's healthy. And so that's unfortunate. And that's strictly due to poor husbandry practices. And unfortunately, the hobby as a whole has suffered from that, Oh. Yeah, finding somebody decent to do a website is always a hassle. It can definitely be a headache, and that's one thing. Like if you're, selling fish, you have to decide if you're going to sell fish. Are you doing it to make a legitimate profit and run it as a business, or is it just a hobby? You're going to make a couple bucks on the side, right? Because there's a drastically different level of commitment, right? So props to those that hustle and run two basically full-time jobs and make a decent chunk of money selling fish on the side. Obviously, if you're selling fish, it's much more efficient and you'll see higher profit margins by simply flipping fish, which is just a fact, right? As much as we like to distribute a ton of locally bred fish that you bred in your house, if you're in it for money, you're probably not just breeding your own fish, right? Because you can't generally generate the volume to move to make a good chunk of money. Can you make decent money? Yeah, there's people do. I have good friends that, they'll make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 on the side breeding fish. But if you're trying to really make money at it, you've got to buy from farms or imports. And I talked about, guppies due to poor husbandry and poor farming practices, degrading over time. I've noticed with shrimp lately, shrimp are often imported from Asia, shocker. And the quality of shrimp imports, this is just an observation. I don't know the statistics of it. But the quality of shrimp imports lately, I see a lot more people having problems with parasites and I think it's Vorticella. I'm not super big on shrimp, so if I'm wrong, correct me. I think there's a Vorticella issue, like a green, almost a fungal problem that comes in. It's basically a death sentence to your shrimp. I've never had it. I keep a wide variety of shrimp. I've never had any of these, but that's why I get mine. And no offense to some of the bigger names out there that are super popular, and they generally sell pretty good shrimp. But I get mine from specific breeders. If I'm going to buy shrimp, usually you can find a pretty good quality shrimp breeder within, a 1 day's mailing distance of you, right? Or a local swap meet. So these guys moving a bunch of ships, bunch of shrimp, selling a bunch of shrimp online, or whether they're traveling to swap meets and they have a ton of shrimp to offer. It's likely imports, and the imports lately, it definitely seems like they've been going way downhill. So be wary. Like I said, just practice good husbandry. Do the hobby a favor, do yourself a favor, and practice good husbandry. Help the hobby be better by doing what you can to spread quality livestock, right? So, a little rant about that. Maybe you guys have different opinions, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. Does anybody know? No, I know a lot of people. Um, with e-commerce, a lot of people started running more or less businesses out of their basements, which really put a hurting on the brick and mortar shops. Because obviously, if you're running something out of your basement, um, it's as easy as getting a tax ID generally, and you can buy it from any of these wholesalers. You have a lot less overhead, right? So you're hurting the brick and mortar shops. Um, so just if you decide to run something out of your business, do the best you can to make it a business and not just flipping stuff out of your basement, right? There's plant people are terrible about it. Coral people, when I was in saltwater a few years ago, were absolutely awful about it. There were several people that were notorious. Um, they'd sell you plants, right? But they didn't order the plants until they after you paid for them because they were just literally just flipping them. They'd hit their house, they'd repackage them and ship them to you. So obviously, just not a good business model. I think most of them sort themselves out. So if you're considering flipping, as far as buying from a wholesaler or importing, take the time, do it right, or you won't be doing it very long. That's awesome. Yeah, generally, if you make friends with somebody that does some imports or runs like a shop, if you make friends with them, they'll usually share their list with you, right? And they usually cut you a pretty decent deal. They're helping you out by allowing you to literally select which fish you want to have them bring in. So don't cheap out on them, or you won't be friends very long. So definitely make sure you take care of them and pay them for their time. So I just noticed this the other day. Many of you are probably familiar with King Lee, big guppy guy, Twin City Guppies. But he actually just opened up a brick and mortar store, I believe, and a mall over in Minneapolis. So next time I'm up there in Minneapolis, it's, I don't know, maybe a 4-hour drive for me. Definitely like to check that out. He keeps some different stuff. Let's see what he's got for guppies. Last time I looked at Twin City Guppies page, a lot of stuff was sold out, but it looks like they are pretty well back in business now. So albino full red, it's a good looking fish, sold out. Now we're getting into all sold out stuff. But he may just post have it listed as sold out online, because if he's got a brick and mortar shop, he's giving those people priority that come to the shop. So he may give it a month or so before he lists something online. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you can, generally speaking, you can look at some of the lists of these guys and be like, okay, he's bringing in some seriously cool stuff, and you can expect to pay a little bit more for something like that. So, like, you're not going to see these black chins. I think that's a black chin. Around very often, so you expect to pay a premium for them. Like these guys here. These are exactly what maybe not the exact correction point I'm looking for. But we were talking about these feather fins earlier. These are some wicked awesome fish. Look at those guys. I don't know. Maybe you're not into it. I think the ophthalmic tilapia and Suda are super cool. And pay attention to collection points if you're buying. If you can, particularly with like your cichlids and killies, it's a big deal. But collection points, so where the fish was originally collected, so you can kind of get an idea of the lineage. And often, if it has a specific collection point, if you plan on breeding it, do your part to keep that a true line. Because while a species may be from different collection points, technically it's the same species. However, the coloration can be a lot different. It's like these are all ophthalmic tilapia. Nasuda, we have everything from gold to black to orange. This guy is kind of blue with some yellow fins down here. So pay attention to it. It does make a difference in some of these collection points. If you're looking into getting into breeding some of these guys, but just sell them. Some of them draw, a premium based on the collection point if it's something that's fairly uncommon or you just don't see around very often. Oh man, aren't they? So I found Golden Lasuda about maybe 8 months ago. I happened to be looking through YouTube videos actually, and I bumped into them, and they just struck me as being particularly awesome. So I've got a 180 acrylic downstairs. It doesn't even have water in it. I don't even have a filter for it. I'm going to set up a sump on it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful fish. I think. Obviously, everybody's got different tastes. But I think a tank with some of the Ophthalmophilia Nasuda, the golds or the oranges in a 180 with a big school of Cyprichromis would be pretty cool with a bunch of sand in the bottom and some nice rock work. Maybe even, I think you can get away with like some sand sifters, some xenotilapia in with them, potentially even some shellies if you gave the shellies a lot of shells in their own end of the tank, because these guys, Ophthalmophilia do get a pretty decent size. I've been looking for it this whole time. Looking for what, Jeffrey? I missed you. Ziba Furcifer. I'm not familiar with that one, Alex Shannon. A friend of mine bred some Furcifers for a while. He said it was pretty tough. It was a Sathropharynx Furcifer variant. I don't know the collection. They look like stunners, though. Look at that guy. Who is that? Give me a little face space for a minute. Abyss. Those 50 each. Oops. That's an awesome looking fish. Looks like it probably stays a little bit smaller. So yeah, I haven't seen those before. Thanks for that. I'm gonna save that as I'm not familiar with that one. So I'm gonna keep that in the back pocket because that would be a pretty wicked fish if you could find it. So I wish I could remember exactly what species my buddy had that was breeding. This is almost 10 years ago now. Actually, most of my fish room, this is old fish room. He got out of it. But look at the fins on that guy. Holy smokes. That is wicked awesome. Of course, they're out of stock, but look at those ventral fins. That's a good looking fish. Yeah, if I found those for sale, I definitely would not wait too long. As long as I had the appropriate space at the time. Bluegrass has been around for a while. I've never ordered anything from them. I don't know how much I trust them. 34 each. I think something like this is something you'd probably want to buy from a specific source or be able to see it in person. Oh, I got you. Makes sense. "22 centimeters. It's a pretty good size. Not too bad. Standard mouth brooder. Cool. Well, folks, we rambled on about buying and selling fish a little bit for a while. Appreciate you guys stopping in. We've been right on for about an hour. Nice catching up and chatting with you guys. Alshan, I know you and I haven't been able to really chat much in a long time, so it's nice to get to chat with you. I'm going to send you a message, and we'll see if we can if we can track some of these fish down, especially those. If you've got a line on those, the Roseba first, I'd like to at least find a source for them. I may not pick them up anytime soon, but I'd at least like to find a source and see if they're out there from someone reliable. Check out his site. What's his website, Jeff? I don't think I saw it. Yeah, if you give me the guy's name or his website, I'll see what I can find. Check it out. Now, Dave's Fish, is that the same as Dave's Rare Fish? I didn't think he was in I thought he was in San Antonio, not Galveston. Dave's Rare Fish has been around for quite a while. He's always kept some super cool African stuff. Yeah, like I said, you probably pay for it a little bit, but it's healthy stuff. Okay, so maybe he moved. I happened to be driving down the street and I saw his shop, but apparently you can only walk into his shop if you make an order and you go to pick your stuff up. Then you can potentially walk around and see stuff. But super cool stuff. Like I said, he's been in the hobby for a long time. Another guy, if you're interested in African stuff, Jeff Rapp, Tangled Up in Cichlids. And to the best of my knowledge, Jeff does not operate anymore. I believe he sold it, but Tangled Up in Cichlids is still functional. Okay, yep, that's what I thought. I thought he was in San Antonio, but people move, not a big deal. So, but once again, Alishan and Jeffrey, I know it was mostly through the three of us chatting back and forth. So thanks for the conversation. Appreciate it. I know Ian stopped in for a while. Xanda Doodoo. Danny Weshy. Always a pleasure. Vin stopped in for a little bit. Ian, Lefty. Patty. Appreciate you guys. I haven't personally ordered anything from these guys, but it was a pleasure. Catch you guys later. As always, thanks for tuning in. This is Mike, All Things Fish. Have a good night.